Matt Strahm, Red Sox legend, comes set. Here's the pitch. Oh! Slider, and that's a called third strike, and the Phillies have knocked off the Braves. Oh my goodness, for the second year in a row, the Phillies have upset the Braves, and the Phillies are advancing to the National League Championship Series for the second year in a row. Oh my. Once again, an amazing Braves team has been knocked off. And are we really surprised? Let's be real here. It just feels like it doesn't matter how good you are in the regular season. It doesn't matter. It comes down to, are you built for the postseason? There's two keys. Are you built to get to the postseason? And how well built are you for the postseason? Unbelievable. In my personal opinion, the Phillies, they were simply just more prepared for postseason play than the Braves. And what I mean by prepared, no, I don't fully mean the scouting reports. I don't mean the pregame preparation, looking at what swings to take in certain counts. I'm not talking about all that. I'm talking about simply the construction of the roster for the Philadelphia Phillies. When you take a look at the Phillies and how they're built, they're just more well-built for postseason play. Sure, they got to go through that wild card round. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Sure, people are going to, I guarantee you're going to see so much tomorrow on your phones tomorrow. You're going to see so much about how the schedule, everything, the format of the postseason was the reason the Braves lost. No, the reason the Braves lost is because the Phillies are more well-constructed for the postseason. You need a few different things, right? You need good players up the middle. I've said this before on streams. When you take a look at how the Phillies are built up the middle, what I mean by up the middle, catcher, shortstop, second base, center field, they are just so solid up the middle right now. Sure, Johan Rojas is a younger player out in center field, but he's a pretty solid player out there defensively. JT Realmuto, one of the best catchers in the game. Trey Turner, one of the best shortstops in the game, right there up the middle. I mean, you got Bryson Stott having an incredible year for the Phillies, not just offensively, but he's a very good defensive player as well. The Phillies have that spine, right? So they're solid up the middle, right? And then they have these great bats on the corners, right? You got Kyle Schwarber. You got Castellanos. You got Harper, who is now a corner infielder. They're just so well built defensively, much better defensively this year than they were last year, and just so well built offensively. Everyone pays attention to the Braves offense this year. And I have too. I've been all about this Braves offense. But the Phillies offense is really good. Sure, did they put up the numbers the Braves did this year? No, but they put up some great numbers this year. They were a top 10 offense this year. And they didn't have Harper for a lot of it. They let Harper get his groove going towards the end of the season. Harper's having another legendary postseason as we speak. But it's not just the lineup. The Phillies, when it comes to the rotation, they have the better depth. Starting pitching is so key. You need that spine up the middle, but you also need the starting pitching depth, right? You need that very good lineup as well, that deep lineup that's hard to pitch to, right? You need that power on the corners. You need those solid players up the middle. You need that diversity in the lineup where they can do different things. The Phillies can do that. They have a multitude of guys that have different skill sets. But the starting pitching depth was so key for the Philadelphia Phillies. Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez. Ranger Suarez, who would have thought Ranger Suarez would be the guy to get 2 starts in this series? When you think of the Phillies, you think of Zach Wheeler and Nola. But Ranger Suarez ended up being the guy that got 2 starts in this series. That just shows how good the depth of the Phillies pitching is when it comes to the postseason. In the regular season, they managed it the best they could, right? They were, in my opinion, I actually felt like they were a little thin on starting pitching this year. Aaron Nola was up and down this year. But Zach Wheeler, he was a dog out there this year. They had to have Christopher Sanchez step up for them this year. They had to have guys kind of fill in, right? They weren't like this amazingly deep rotation this year. They had their issues in the rotation, up and down. But for the postseason, it's different. It's different in the postseason than it is in the regular season, and people need to start being aware of that. I do too. I mean, shoot, when it comes to the predictions I make, sometimes I get a little too caught up into the numbers. And I don't want to say a little too. I do get caught up in the numbers when I'm trying to make my predictions. I try to, maybe even sometimes get a little cute with my picks. But you can't look at it, and we all need to start looking at the postseason as a completely different game than it is in the regular season. You're going up against tougher lineups. You're going up against the more elite bats. You need to have that really good pitching, right? Guys that have the track record, but you also need to have a little bit of depth there. And that really showed with the Braves here tonight. Really, in this series. I'm just saying, like, the starting pitching for the Braves clearly was outmatched by the Phillies from not just a talent point of view. I mean, honestly, talent-wise, Strider did look really good in these two starts. And he just didn't get the support. But the depth of the Phillies was so much better than the Braves in this series. And it showed, right? The Braves not having Charlie Morton really came back to haunt them. That was huge. Max Fried coming off of the blister thing. How many times did I see Braves fans say, oh, Fried, he's coming back for the postseason? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You need to get rid of the name. Yes, Max Fried is a great name. But he was off for a couple of weeks. He's a human being at the end of the day. He's not going to be at his best after missing a couple of starts and coming off of a blister issue. We need to start getting to the point where we need to kind of understand how these human beings operate. Max Fried was no surprise to me that he was not as sharp in game 2. Spencer Strider, let's talk about him. I love Spencer Strider. I think that guy's amazing, but he clearly needs a third pitch. Clearly needs a third pitch. In the postseason, you can't run on 2 pitches. I don't care how nasty he is. I love Spencer Strider. I love him. I think he's fantastic. But it clearly shows with a deep lineup like this in postseason baseball, you need more than 2 pitches. You need more than a fastball and a slider to go deeper into the game. And not just deeper, but deeper more effectively, right? Strider, you could see another time through the lineup, they were starting to get to him a little bit. You can be so nasty with 2 pitches, but 2 pitches can only go so far. Sure, he threw a couple of changeups, but you need to throw more than, 5 changeups in the game. He needs to start incorporating another pitch. He's got the fastball. He got the slider, but you can't get by a deep Phillies lineup with just those 2. So that's what Strider needs to work on this offseason. He needs to start implementing another pitch if he really wants to take it to that next level. If he wants to be that unanimous Cy Young winner, if he wants to be that guy in a postseason, you need to have a 3-pitch mix. Doesn't matter how good the fastball slider is. You need to have more diversity when it comes to your repertoire. The Phillies just had more depth in this series, and it was very obvious. And it just looked, the eye test showed it. You can, sure, we can look at the numbers all you want. You can look at how good Ronald Acuna Jr. was this year. You can look at how good Matt Olson was this year. It doesn't matter, right? Yeah, sure, maybe they did get iced a little bit. I'm not going to sit here and say they didn't. Maybe they did. I'm not going to take that out. Absolutely, they probably did, at least in game 1. But sorry, the good teams need to show up and play. Houston Astros are a prime example. At the end of the day, you can sit here and complain that the format, yada yada yada. The Astros have won 7 straight, or they're now going to their 7th straight American League Championship Series. Sorry, the good teams are ready, and the good teams make it happen. Yeah, I know they like their routines. I know they don't like having the off days too much. Maybe a day off is fine, but when you start getting at 2, 3, 4, yeah, it kind of maybe gets with your timing a little bit. Sorry, the good teams figure it out. And the Braves, they were not good enough this year. And I love the Atlanta Braves this year. I thought they were great. But in the end, I said this towards the end of the year, it felt like maybe there were some cracks starting to show with this Braves team. Go back to my power rankings. Go back to the last couple. I was starting to say, could there be some cracks forming on this team? Well, it felt like the Phillies were just getting stronger. It just felt like the Phillies, as the year went on this year, they were just becoming a better team. They just seem so solid right now. And I'm going to say this right now with almost 200 people in this chat. I'm going to go out on a limb. Hey, I'm always wrong about my predictions. I get it. I'm going to say this right now. I think the Phillies are winning the World Series. I love the Dbacks. I don't think they're beating the Phillies. I like the Astros, obviously. I don't think they're beating the Phillies. I like the Rangers' offense this year. I don't think they're beating the Phillies. I think the Phillies are winning it all. I really do. I'm sorry. The funny thing is, I did pick the Marlins in that wild card round. Why? Not because I thought the Marlins were a better team. Clearly, the Phillies are a better team, and I knew that coming into this postseason. But I was wondering, could there just be some weird stuff going on? It's been a weird season. It's been one of those weird seasons. And I was wondering, could the Marlins shock the world? You know, they had a couple of guys that could pitch. I was wondering, could they maybe just throw this Phillies team off? They had success against the Phillies. They were kind of the Phillies' kryptonite this year. And I did not think the Phillies were the better team than the Marlins, but I thought maybe the Marlins could figure out something and shock the world. Yeah, I was definitely wrong on that. I swung and missed big time on that. I will say this, though. I did think to myself, if the Phillies and the Braves met up, I did like the Phillies better. I wasn't sure if the Phillies, at the point, I don't know if the Phillies were going to be able to beat the Braves, with how good the offense looked. But I did love the Phillies in that matchup, if it were to happen, because they simply were just a deeper team. They had deeper pitching. I definitely thought the Phillies had a shot against this Braves team, and they proved me right. All right, obviously, I look pretty bad picking the Marlins over the Phillies, but again, not because I thought the Marlins were a better team. I just thought they could have found something crazy and shocked the world, right? I was wrong. Maybe I'm hanging on to 2003 too much with that Marlins team. Anyway, I do think right now the Phillies, I think they're winning the whole thing. I'm sorry. I just see too good of a starting rotation right now. They're too deep, in my opinion. They have three guys that can go 1, 2, 3, and you still have someone like a Christopher Sanchez on this team. This bullpen, let me bring out the bullpen real quick. The bullpen for the Phillies this year. It's been great. It's been one of the most, I would say, probably the most underrated bullpen in baseball this year. And I think Phillies fans, you would agree with me. This has been a really good bullpen this year. Not just because of Red Sox legend Craig Kimbrell, not just because of Red Sox legend Matt Strom, but the Phillies bullpen has been incredibly underrated this year. They ranked third in Fangraph WAR. It was a really solid set of relief pitchers down the stretch in the second half. I think the Phillies are a complete team right now, and I think they're winning the whole thing. Right now, I just don't see how they lose. I just don't. I trust me. Would I love to see the Diamondbacks maybe do something in the National League Championship Series? Yeah, I would. I would love to see it because I love a young team like the Diamondbacks. I love seeing these new teams emerging. But right now, this feels like it's the Phillies' year. It feels like it's over. It's done. The Phillies need to go make it happen on the field. But I do think this is the Phillies' World Series to lose. I think if they meet the Astros again in a rematch, I think they're beating the Astros. I think that's going to be a fun series with the Astros and the Rangers. But I think both of those teams are being set up to lose to the Phillies. Sorry. I just don't see the Phillies losing. Maybe Phillies fans, maybe you don't like hearing me picking them because it seems like every time I pick a team to win, they lose. But I feel really good about this one. As for the Braves, listen, it was a great year. It was I would say one of the best offenses ever in Braves history. I mean, if not the best offense in Braves history. Now, you have a couple of teams, maybe not better than 2003. 2003, that year for the Braves was so good offensively. 1998 was a really good year for the Braves. But they have a really interesting I keep saying postseason, really interesting offseason coming up. The Braves, honestly, I think the key for them is they really need to build some depth, right? Everything looked good in the first half of the year. They looked phenomenal. But the cracks started to show in the second half. And in the end, they just didn't have the depth. And they definitely need some starting pitching depth. Sorry. Bryce Elder in Game 3. To be honest with you, I feel like the Braves could have made it work with Bryce Elder in Game 3. I really do. I think they kind of mismanaged that, to be completely honest with you. I would have taken him out after the first turn through the rotation. I think you were playing on You're playing on house money at that point. You should have left the table as soon as you could with Bryce Elder. You got through the lineup one time with minimal damage, but then you exposed him to the lineup again for a second time. Sorry, Bryce Elder does not have the stuff to go through a lineup for a second time. You should have gone to a bullpen game there. At that point, I would have been fine if Bryce Elder gave me 2 innings of 1-run ball. I think that's a win if you ask me. They should have gone a bullpen game at that point. Probably have people disagree with me on that. I will take that to the grave. I think you left Bryce Elder in way too long, and that's not just because he gave up a home run to Bryce Harper. You should have taken him out a couple of hitters before that. Sorry. I think the Braves, they really screwed the pooch on that one. I think they really messed that up, and I think they really they wrecked their chances there. At the end, sure, you can talk offense and whatnot, but I just think that wasn't good for them. Because the Phillies, once they started just hammering these homers, man, in Game 3, the momentum was just completely gone for the Braves. To me, momentum's a big thing. And I think leaving Elder in like that and then getting Harper with that homer, the Philly crowd was just so energized at that point. The game was over at that point. So, I don't know. That's my call for that one. Davi, and I see you in the chat. Yeah, felt like Atlanta couldn't hit. They couldn't. That is a big deal. I'm not, saying that's not a big reason. I just think Elder should not have been in that game as long as he was. So, in the end, the Braves have an interesting offseason. I just keep thinking they need to add depth to this rotation. I'm sorry. You can't keep going into a postseason thinking Charlie Morton's going to be available. The last couple of years now, you've had Charlie Morton just not ready for the postseason, right? And he's just not there, and you need a solid 3. Personally, I know Braves fans, I know you love Max Fried. But Max Fried, I'm sorry, I want him pitching postseason games, but he's not like this god-tier ace that you think he is. He's really good, and I'm more than happy giving him the ball in a postseason game, but you need someone else here. You can't just ride on Strider with 2 pitches. You can't. You just can't. They need someone this offseason. They need to add something. Now, they do have some younger pitchers, right? You did have some guys like A.J. Smith, come up this year. Sure, maybe you got a couple of other guys down in the minor leagues that could contribute. It was too bad that Kyle Wright, had the year that he had. Soroka, unfortunately, just wasn't really able to get things going this year. I really hope that guy gets his career just back to where it should be. I think the Braves, their big thing this offseason is they need to add starting pitching, and they need to add guys that you can rely on in the postseason. But I think teams should really take a page from the Phillies. It doesn't matter how good you are in the regular season. It doesn't matter what club you make, like Ronald Acuna Jr. It was a historic season for Ronald Acuna Jr., but it doesn't matter. Sure, it's fun. It's great to see that kind of stuff. But if you want to win a World Series, you need to look at what the Braves do. They are getting ready for the postseason, right? They're setting themselves up for postseason play. Honestly, I think the key right now for teams lately, just play well in the regular season, play well enough, and then just be ready for the postseason. That sounds ridiculously so simple, and that's obviously easier said than done. But the Phillies are kind of just showing you right now that you don't need to be this 100-plus win team. They did it last year. Yeah, did they win the World Series last year? No. But the Phillies are, in my opinion, a much better team than they were last year. Obviously, I think we can all agree on that. The Phillies, I think, are the prime example of how to build a roster for the World Series. And Dave Dombrowski, he knows what he's doing. The regular season, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You just got to get through that regular season. Once you're there, once you're in the postseason, if your team is built for the postseason, you got a chance to win the whole thing. And Dave Dombrowski, give him a lot of credit. Give Dave Dombrowski a lot of credit. This guy's a legend. I'm not just saying that because he won a World Series with the Red Sox. That's a big reason for it. But the guy knows how to build a roster for the postseason. I think Dave Dombrowski, honestly, if you're really looking at everyone, sure, on this Phillies team, you can look at all the stars they have. You can look at all these players that have been coming through for them. But Dave Dombrowski constructed this roster. I think he deserves all the credit, right? He's put the right people in the right positions. And this Phillies team, I think people in organizations need to look at what they're doing, right? It doesn't matter how good you are, how many wins you get in the regular season. It doesn't matter, right? Sure, it looks great on paper when you got 100 wins, but it doesn't look any better when you only got 1 win in the postseason and you're going to play some golf. So, taking a look here, we got a couple of super chats here. Everyone, while I'm getting to those super chats, if you can, hit the like button for me. That will greatly help us out in the algorithm. I feel like the algorithm is just kind of, I don't know, it's not pushing the streams lately. So if you can, hit the like. It's really going to help out there. Subscribe if you are new. Share the show if you can. And hit the bell notification. All right, so we got a couple of super chats here. Matthew Villarreal, how you doing? $9.99. What's the issue with the Dodgers and what's the issue with the Padres? I just think the Dodgers, they were just so thin on starting pitching, and it clearly showed. Yeah, I banked on maybe the offense coming through and then the bullpen kind of carrying them. In the end, horrible pick. You need starting pitching. And the Dodgers are just way too thin on starting pitching. Way too thin. And that was the big problem for them, and they needed to address that this offseason. I think the Padres, honestly, I think the Padres go a little deeper than that. I think there is a big thing when it comes to building a roster. I think you need a big part that gets left out is you need to look at the personalities of the player and the players that are playing together. Are they going to have good chemistry? And I feel like the Padres lacked chemistry this year. I feel like they finally got it going towards the end of the year. So that's something, in my opinion, I think the Padres really need to focus on a little bit more. It's not just about the stars that you add. That's the difference with the Phillies and the Padres. The Phillies, they've not just put together these incredibly good players, but they just like playing together. And I think that's very overlooked a lot. And I think the Padres need to focus on that a little bit. But I also think for the Padres, they also had injuries this year. They were definitely affected when it came to their starting pitching. Yeah, I know they had Blake Snell, but Yu Darvish was up and down. Joe Musgrove, I feel like Joe Musgrove he felt non-existent this year. So the Padres, they need depth of their starting pitching. The problem with the Padres, I will say this. If the Padres made it to the postseason, I think they would have been pretty dangerous. I really do. But that just goes to show why the Phillies are just built better. Because the Phillies were constructed not just to be playing well in the postseason, but they were constructed to make it through the regular season. The regular season, the way I like to think about it is like you're in the middle of the ocean and there's this big old giant waves just splashing all around and moving you all around, and you got to find your way to navigate through those waters, right? That's the regular season to me. Once you make it through that, you see the island in the horizon, and once you just make it to that island, you're good, right? But that's what I think with the Padres. I just think they lacked the depth, and I think they lacked chemistry this year. That's just my opinion. SoundFX09. I hate to say it. I always love that you're, here. You show up. I'm sorry, my friend. I'm sorry that you had to show up in this way. SoundFX09, thank you for the $10. No sugarcoating it, Robbie. This one hurts. Fried and Strider can't do it alone, and the offense was always masking our pitching. That's a great way to put it. Great way to put it. The offense, I do really think, when it came to the perception of the Braves, you saw these bats. You saw the 40-70 year with Acuna. You saw Matt Olson just have a monster year. You saw a lot of these guys stepping up for them. Ozuna was having a good year. A lot of guys were having good years for the Braves. That lineup looked incredibly unstoppable. It was fun to watch that offense at times, but it did mask the pitching. And I think people need to remember, and I need to remember this for my predictions next year. I'm going to say this right now. I feel good about my predictions for next year. I feel good. I'm feeling good, everyone. That might sound crazy. I know some of you out there are rolling your eyes at that. I feel good because I feel like I'm starting to get an idea of how this stuff maybe works a little bit. Watch, I'm going to make my predictions next year, and they're going to do even worse than they were this year. But you make a great point. Pitching is the cornerstone of postseason baseball. If you don't got that, you don't got it. Sorry. The Rangers, even with the Rangers, right? We saw how choppy their starting pitching was towards the end of the year. The bullpen had a lot of rough moments. the offense was kind of one of those things that was keeping them alive, keeping the hopes alive for people. But when you look at the Rangers this year, sure, in the postseason, sure, their offense has been great, but they've been getting the pitching, right? It's like what you just said. It feels like people are paying more attention to the offense for the Rangers, but they have been getting good pitching. So, and you're kind of saying the same thing here with the Braves. The offense was masking the pitching, right? In this case, it wasn't good pitching for the Braves, while with the Rangers, they've been getting good pitching, right? So it's almost like the offense has been overshadowing the Rangers pitching, while the offense for the Braves was hiding the Braves pitching, the lack of pitching, like you were mentioning. And like you say here, starting pitching depth is a priority, but I think Morton hangs it up. Yeah, Morton had a really good year. Morton had a fantastic year for the Braves. And in the end, he just wasn't able to get to where it mattered. I mean, come on. Like, I'll say this one more time for the Braves. You can't roll into the postseason with Strider, Fried, and Elder. And when you really think about it with Strider, I've said this like 8 times already. He has 2 pitches. He throws a changeup maybe 5 times in a game, 3 maybe. You need more than that. You're not going to be able to get through. You're not going to be able to carry a pitching staff with 2 pitches. As good as he is, you're not going to be able to do it. Fried, I love Fried. I think Fried's great, but he's not carrying that rotation for you. He's going to be a guy that starts game 2, game 3, possibly. The Braves need another guy to go in this rotation. I'll say this right now. Braves fans, hear me out. Hear me out. You really want to stick it to the Phillies? You really want to get payback on the Phillies? Go after Aaron Nola this offseason. That might sound crazy. Will he go to the Braves? I'm sorry. I think maybe the Braves should maybe show the money. You want to get back at the Phillies? You want to really hit it where it hurts? Go sign Aaron Nola. That's a guy you need. That's a guy that right there would be so good for your rotation in the postseason. I'm just saying. Hey, the Braves need to accomplish that this offseason. If it's not Aaron Nola, well, we can look at some other guys. Let's take a look. Let me go to, let's see, MLB free agent tracker. So let's see some other starting pitchers for the Braves. I'm not worried about this lineup. The lineup's fine. You don't need to do anything with this lineup. It's completely fine. You need pitching because here's the thing, and this is what I mentioned here. Sure, the Braves, they had a bit of a layoff there with the wild card round, right? If they had good pitching, that could have carried them until the offense woke up, right? If they had the pitching in this series, that could have been enough to help the offense, give them time to find their rhythm. And that's what I mean. Good teams find a way to win. If one part of the team is struggling, you need another part of the team to step up. That's what I mean. But when it comes to the starting pitching, there are definitely some options here for Atlanta. Absolutely some options here. Okay, here, I don't want Atlanta. Here we go. So, starting pitchers, like I mentioned. Aaron Nola, I think that would be hilarious if the Braves somehow, some way were able to get him to come on over to Atlanta. I wonder if that's even a possibility. Will Atlanta want to spend the money for him? I don't know. I think Jordan Montgomery could be a decent option, a guy that you're confident just simply giving the ball to, and he's going to make his starts. That's what I like about Jordan Montgomery, and it feels like at 31 years old, he's kind of found his way fully. He feels like a complete pitcher now. Sonny Gray, that's a guy I'm not really going after if I'm the Braves. Blake Snell, sure, that would be fun. I think that's an option. I think for the Braves, you got to go spend some money on pitching because you're out of prospects here to really go make a trade. Could you go after someone like Corbin Burns? I think you're going to have to part with a pretty good young player that's even on the major league roster. I don't think Vaughn Grissom gets it done. I think he's lost a lot of value. But could you go after someone like a Corbin Burns? Would the Brewers want to trade him within the National League at this point? Or would they be more in favor of trading him to the American League? I don't know. What do the Brewers even do this offseason with him? I don't know. But could that be an option? I think that's possible. But for me, if I'm the Braves, and then also you got Yamamoto. I keep forgetting Yamamoto because he's not on this list because I'm someone where when it's in my vision, I remember it. But Yamamoto could be interesting. I think that, but to me, I feel like for the Braves, I kind of want to get a guy that is going to be good, right? That has the track record in the major leagues. I think Yamamoto can absolutely be amazing. I hope my Red Sox get him. That would be amazing. But I don't know. I feel like Braves fans, I think you should go after someone with a major league track record because your team is in that win now mode. And that's what I think the perception of that feels right, or it doesn't feel right to go after Yamamoto. But hey, whatever. If you did get him, I think that'd be amazing too. Seabass, $2 super chat. As a Braves fan, I hope Harper is all right. As a Braves fan, I hope Harper is all right. What do you mean? I don't know what you mean by that. As a Braves fan, I hope Harper is all right. Did he get hurt? Did I miss something? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Seabass. But, oh yeah, and also I'm seeing people in the chat talking about Ohtani. Ohtani's not the kind of player you need right now if you're the Braves. Sure, yeah, would that be fun to go get Ohtani? Yeah, I think that would be amazing. But the Braves aren't going to get Ohtani. They're not going to spend that kind of money. Seabass, you're right. Olsen ran into him in the 7th. Right. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be all right. Harper's a dog, man. He's going to go out there and play. He'll put some ice on it. He'll be good to go. He'll be hitting tanks in the next round. So, speaking of the next round, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the next round. So, this is an interesting series. A very interesting series. We got the Diamondbacks and the Phillies in the NLCS. Have they played each other in the NLCS before? If I remember, hold on a second. Let me look up something here. Let me see. Dbacks. Did they play each other in 2007 in the playoffs? Or was that the Phillies and the Rockies? I feel like that was the Phillies and the Rockies, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the Phillies and the Rockies, and the Diamondbacks were in the other side of the bracket. Yeah, it was the Diamondbacks and the Rockies in the NLCS that year. That was the last time the Diamondbacks made it to the NLCS. So, this is an interesting matchup if you ask me. Let's look at this Diamondbacks team. I think right now, I just think you have to lean towards the Phillies over the Diamondbacks when it comes to the starting pitching. Gallen, Fott, Kelly. Sure, I like it. I don't like to doubt teams. I doubted this Diamondbacks team against the Dodgers, and silly me, shame on me. And I was so high on the Diamondbacks, and I lost faith in them when it mattered. And I just went completely against them, and I deserved that. I deserved to feel the wrath of Diamondbacks fans after I called for the Dodgers to win that series. But against the Phillies, man, sure, I like Gallen, but up against Wheeler in a game 1, I just like the Phillies. Kelly, Nola, game 2, I just like Nola. Game 3, Fott, I do like Fott. But against Ranger Suarez, I just like Ranger Suarez. I like the pitching matchups for the Phillies. I love the offense for the Diamondbacks. You got dynamic bats all over the place, and I think they could put up some runs. I like how both offenses right now are clicking for the most part. The offenses are churning for these teams, but I just like the Phillies' offense better. I just think they're a little deeper. I think they're a little more battle-tested. The Diamondbacks are hungry, but the Phillies are also very hungry. And the Phillies were there last year. Is it going to be one of those things where the Diamondbacks just maybe aren't quite ready? I think they could be. I think the Diamondbacks could absolutely be a team that you could see here consistently over the next few years. But is it their time? I don't know. Bullpens. Listen, I like Sewald. I like Ginkel. I like Castro. But when I'm looking at the Phillies bullpen, I just see so many good arms. And I'm not just talking about Red Sox legend, a.k.a. almost gave me a heart attack 30 times in the 2018 playoffs, Craig Kimbrell. But I like Alvarado. I like Soto there. I like the lefty action. I like Dominguez. I like the arms they have. I think they're just deeper in the bullpen. I just think the Phillies are just the better team. And I was a little quick to jump to the Dodgers, picking the Dodgers over the Diamondbacks. I'm thinking this one out a little bit more. When I'm really looking at it, the Phillies just look like the better team. I think the Diamondbacks can get a win, maybe 2. But I have the Phillies winning this next series in 5 games. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a sweep. I'm not going to say a sweep. I'm just not. I'm not going to do it. I just think the Phillies right now, I think they win this series in 5 games. And I think the Phillies advance the World Series. And that's not just bias based off of, what just happened here. The Phillies, to me, just look like a complete team. I picked the Orioles and the Dodgers in the World Series. Terrible pick. But I'm going to be very honest with you. There were 3 teams I was really considering for my World Series pick this year. I'm going to be very honest with you. Very honest with you. I did a little spreadsheet on Microsoft Excel. I was typing in stats. I was typing in not just stats for these teams, but stats against how they performed against the good teams, the playoff contenders this year. And the 3 teams that I had that were right near the top when I clicked out, or when I clicked on everything and equaled out all the numbers, the Phillies, the Twins, the Orioles, and I'll pull this up right now on my iPad. The Twins, I had there was something about the Twins that I liked heading into the postseason, but I didn't want to pick them because, they hadn't made a World Series, since 91. And I wasn't sure if they were really just there yet to beat the Astros, so I didn't want to lean on the Twins. The 3 teams that I really looked at were the Twins, the Phillies, the Orioles. I thought the Brewers might have had a chance, but then Woodruff went down, and I did not feel good about that. And then obviously the Astros, because they're always there. And that was pretty, honestly, and when I'm looking at the Braves here, when it came to my rankings, when I was ranking the playoff teams, the Braves actually didn't rank well among these playoff teams. They had great offense, but the starting pitching was lacking when it came to their stuff, when it came to the advanced numbers. The bullpen didn't look great for the Braves. And I'm just saying, I don't know. I had the Braves losing. I had the Braves not making it to the World Series. So I guess I got maybe some kind of a pick right. But those were my 3 teams that I was really looking at. The Orioles, the Twins, and the Phillies. And the big reason was starting pitching. Anyway, I feel like I was rambling at this point. Super chat coming in. Seabass, $2 super chat. And the Dbacks completely fleeced Toronto for Moreno. Yeah, the Diamondbacks, man. Here's the thing. I am a Varsho fan. I do like Varsho because he's kind of one of those dirt dog kind of players. But that's tough, man. That you gave up a future star catcher. Moreno, man. Oh, that was such a good pickup for the Diamondbacks. Such a good pickup. Man, you're very right about that one. Everyone, I think I'm pretty much out of thoughts for right now. In the end, the Phillies right now are my pick for the World Series. Out of the 4 teams remaining, 4 teams remaining, Diamondbacks, Phillies, Rangers, Astros, it's the Phillies for me. I'll probably be wrong. I hope I'm not. Every time I pick a team, I'm wrong. But that's how I feel right now. My gut says them. And even if they make it against the Astros, I think they beat them. But who knows? We'll have to see. Everyone, I'm going to get out of here. But real quick before I do, I just want to talk about tonight's sponsor, and that is Underdog Fantasy. I did not make any picks tonight. I've just been on a losing streak with pick'ems. But go try it out for yourself. We got football coming up this weekend, as well as the championship series coming up for this weekend. Go make some picks. The link is in the description down below. The code is Hyde. And you get a double on your deposit up to $100. So go try it out for yourself. I guarantee you will be better than me when it comes to my picks. But I've been having a lot of fun with Underdog Fantasy this year. But like I said, you got football this weekend. They're very big on football. That's kind of their main thing. But baseball has obviously been great for them. And it's been pretty fun making some picks for baseball this year. I was doing drafts a lot this year for baseball with Underdog Fantasy. But go check it out. Again, the link is in the description down below. And don't forget about Factor Meals. They did sponsor one of my videos, but I do just want to touch on them one more time. They do make great meals. I'm not just saying that because they did sponsor a video for me. I have gotten their stuff before. I'm telling you, they make really good stuff. One thing with me, I will never have a sponsor for this channel unless I actually like their product. I'm not just going to accept any sort of sponsor out there and push it if it's not something that I really am on board with, right? It's Factor Meals with the 50% off code. It makes the meals very affordable, and they're just really good. And to me, I think it's a really good offer. You can cancel anytime as well, so that is one perk. So but yeah, go check it out, everyone. Go check it out. Everyone, I'm out of here. I want to thank you for stopping by. We got the next couple of nights off. I think, honestly, with all the streaming that we've been doing, with all the talk we've been having lately, I think that's kind of nice to have a couple days off. I do have a couple of videos coming out over the next couple of days. I got one on Rintaro Sasaki. He's a big name now that's starting to emerge out from Japan. That's going to be a fun video for me to post. I can't wait for that one. And then I have another one for this weekend as well. The best postseason performances of all time. So make sure you look out for those two videos. We got a couple of days off here, so that way you got something to fulfill your baseball needs over the next couple of days. I will also be streaming with Jim from Ballcap Sports probably tomorrow or Saturday. We haven't really nailed down a day as of right now, but I'm guessing it's going to be either tomorrow or Saturday. So we will be doing a collab stream to preview the upcoming series with the Phillies and Diamondbacks, as well as the Astros and the Rangers. So be on the lookout for that. We will be streaming from both our channels, so you know where to find us. Come hang out with us. Come talk some championship series with us in the next couple of days. Everyone, one more time, if you can, hit the like button on your way out. The like goal for tonight was 100. I will greatly appreciate it if you can help us get to that goal. We're at 87 as of right now. I will love you forever if you can hit that like button. And then subscribe if you are new. Hit the bell notification. That way you know I go live every single time. Share the show for the people that weren't able to make it live. Everyone, I'm out of here. Thank you for stopping by again. We will be back very soon. Again, preview stream for the championship series with Jim from Ballcap Sports. And then we'll be back to the post games starting, what is it, Sunday? Sunday night, we'll be back. So have a good night, everyone. Have a good Friday tomorrow. Stay safe out there. Eat your veggies. Get some sleep. We're going to need it for the championship series coming out, everyone, or coming to us on Sunday. And then we get the World Series eventually. What a time to be alive for baseball fans. Everyone, have a great night, and I'll talk to you next time.